Yo, what's up, guys? We're back. We're going to be doing another episode here for UFC Vegas 29, Dan Ige versus Korean Zombie. Awesome main event, man. I mean, to me, this has potential to be one of the fights of the year, so really excited for the card. Overall, the card has, not a lot of name value, but I do think it has some fun fights. It has some, good up-and-coming fighters, and it should be, a good, fun card to watch, and hopefully we can make some money on there. But coming off UFC 263, crazy card, pretty awesome card. And, man, so we're going to look into get right back into it. Like always, just before I do anything, I really would appreciate if you guys could leave a comment down below, put a like down. And like always, I am going to be putting out stuff on the Patreon this week as well for PFL. I'm going to be doing a video. I'm going to put out a few bets as well for PFL. I'm also going to potentially put out some bets for AMC. And maybe another promotion as well on the weekend. So we'll have some bets. We'll have some bets for UFC running as well. So definitely, if you're interested, make sure to check that out. I always appreciate that. And then just a couple more things before we get started. I want to give a big shout out to the winner of the Parlay of the Week contest from last week, which was sponsored by EquitySportsAnalytics.com. And it was a comment by Flyover. I'm going to comment on the comment that he made, get his information for his PayPal, because he did win the $20 competition, but he kind of showed a little bit that, sometimes it's best to, if you have a sharp read, just keep it simple. And I told you guys you could do any bet you wanted with any odds, and the winner, would win the competition if it was a parlay, if it was, one prop. And his play was Terrence McKinney wins in round one, which is actually a very sharp play because almost all of McKinney's wins were in the first round. We saw him go out there witted 7 seconds, so didn't have to sweat that play of his either. And it was plus 500 odds. He won that, and he won the competition. We had some other people where it seemed like Davison Figueiredo, just like he screwed me over, screwed a lot of people over as well in the competition, because certain people would have hit some nice parlays, probably had more value than Flyover's pick, but unfortunately for them, they had one person lose or something like that. So I do appreciate everyone that was in the competition, but Flyover got the win. Shout out to him. So going to be getting in touch with you to get your information, and we're going to be doing this competition every month, like I said. So next month you are going to have another chance to bring home some money and win that tournament. Courtesy of EquitySportsAnalytics.com. And like always, this video is brought to you by EquitySportsAnalytics.com. They are a sponsor of this video. I really appreciate them. And, I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of a look at their website right here. Like always, it's the same kind of thing. They're still doing their dividend program. They're still, breaking down the numbers, giving you guys, the best bets around. They're very proven. They have a really good track record. They show, full transparency on their bets, everything like that. And they have a really good dividend program, like always, where they will pay you if they lose over a 2-week period. So, you're really getting it free of charge just as you go, and you're going to be able to, see if you want to stay, if you like it, and, I'm pretty sure you're going to. Friends don't let friends gamble without math, and, Equity Sports Analytics, they do probably one of the best jobs of it of anyone. So definitely got to give a big shout out to them, and really appreciate them supporting the channel, and hopefully you guys support them as well. And then I just want to give another big shout out to the Fanatics Fantasy MMA app. They're also another sponsor of mine, and like I have been telling you guys, if you want to still get involved, get in there. I'm going to be putting the link in the description, link in the comments below. And everyone you see right here, these are the people that are in the tournament right now. There's more people there, and hopefully we're going to be continuing to get more of you guys joining on. But right now, Bonsai EL is in first place, so he would be bringing them the $100 as of now. But there's still certain people that are right behind him, like Robert LaFranz, and it's Vegas. You see how he only has 8 wins. It maybe looks a little bit deceiving, but it's based off the Vegas odds. Unfortunately, my screen isn't capturing it right now, but they have it here on the corner. So if you actually join the group, you'd be able to see, how much money you made based off the picks that you've had, that you've put on the website, and things like that. And it's really fun, man. I mean, we've had the chat going. People have been talking back and forth, and I'm only gonna be doing it in terms of the UFC, in terms of this competition, but you can even go and do picks for PFL, for Bellator, for all the other promotions as well. So it's a fun little thing where if you want to gamble with no risk, see if you're your picks were sharp this week in terms of your bets, but you don't have a bankroll, you could use that website, see if you would have won money, lost money, and kind of figure it out a little bit. And you can also just go on there and do it for fun. It's always fun to track your picks, see how much money you would have made, see how many you got right, how many you got wrong, have a group of people, and if you win, you get $100. So it's real simple. I think it's a pretty cool thing. I think everyone should sign up for it. So really would appreciate if everyone signed up. And big shout out to them. The Fanatics Fantasy MMA app. They have it on the the Apple Store, on Google Play, and it's a pretty cool app. So I would really appreciate if you joined the app, you downloaded it, you checked it out. They support the channel, so I really would appreciate if you supported them for sure. And yeah, so we're gonna get right into the video now, and it's gonna be this first fight of the night with Laura Procopio taking on Casey O'Neill. This is a really interesting fight. I think there's going to be a lot of different differentiating opinions on this fight because both these girls are young, they're prospects, and they're been doing well in their careers. But Laura Procopio, she's looking to establish herself, as I said, as kind of the best prospect or the prospect to watch at 125 pounds. And she's going to have to take out a young gun in Casey O'Neill to prove that. But she's had 2 solid performances in her first 2 UFC fights. She had a tough debut against Taila Santos, but she took Santos to a split decision. It was a competitive fight. And, then she followed that up by dominating another girl that, has a bit of a name in the division, even though I don't really think she's the most high-level opponent in Molly McCann. But Procopio, she has a well-rounded style. On the feet, she has a pretty good boxing game. She has a long reach, pretty loose, quick hands. She isn't the best athlete. Sometimes she can struggle to close that gap, but she's good with her counter punching, and she really shines in the pocket. She likes to slip the jab and, and or your straight punches, then counter with left hooks, with straight rights. She also used the jab of her own pretty effectively from range. She has good low kicks, and she has good vision, decent head movement. And she holds her hands low, but she's good at, rolling, slipping with shots, and returning in the pocket. Sometimes that does, get her hit a little bit. But, she has a good chin, and she's willing to trade, mix it up, brawl a little bit. And she won't mix it up. She'll go body head. And, she's good at countering. She definitely is a tough girl to kind of deal with because she likes to be in the clinch. So it makes her style pretty effective because if she's in the pocket, picking and pulling, it does give her some clinch opportunity as well. Fighters have to kind of respect that she's either going to grab you or punch you, so it makes them a little bit hesitant. It makes her a little bit hard to read. And, with her style, though, she does walk onto some punches, like I said, and, her chin is held up pretty well, but she did get dropped really hard against Erosa, and definitely feel like better strikers could maybe give Procopio some issues because she doesn't really have a lot of lateral movement. Her style is very forward and backwards. She has pretty predictable, with her movement patterns. But she does throw a lot of volume. She's tough. She has solid boxing, good pressure, and she makes fighters work. I do actually feel like she has some pop in her hands as well. But as far as knockout power, she only has 1 knockout and 7 wins. She's never been finished, so she's definitely tough, like I said. And, her base is jiu-jitsu. She's a black belt. She's a Brazilian national champion, and she's dangerous from both top and bottom position. She doesn't really mind being on her back, and, against Erosa, she tried to get Rosa to enter her guard a couple times, and the one time that Rosa did drop Procopio and get on top, Procopio was able to use a leg entanglement to create a scramble, get back up to her feet. And I've seen her use that leg attacks multiple times, so I think she does like to use those to sweep, to try to submit. I think she does have a heel hook submission on her record. And I've seen her, throw up a couple arm bars on the regional scene. You definitely have to mind your P's and Q's in her guard. This matchup with O'Neill is interesting because usually, fighters don't want to play around on the ground with Procopio, but O'Neill, she's very confident in her top game, and we may get to see her go to the ground and see a little bit of stuff play out there, so it could be some nice scrambles. The issue Procopio has in certain fights, I feel, and she might have in this fight, is getting the fight to the ground. Her wrestling isn't really that developed. She isn't an explosive athlete, so it's not like she's going to be shooting singles and doubles. She really, sometimes she has some good level changes, but she doesn't really have the extra go to kind of finish the takedown. In her last fight, she did have a lot of success with some clinch takedowns. She was able to hit some nice body lock trips. She used some whizzer kicks to get some takedowns, but I don't think she's going to be able to take down O'Neal as effectively in the clinch that way. When Procopio gets on top, she is pretty tough to deal with because she has very good top control, good job of transitioning to dominant positions on the ground, and she definitely forces opponents to, defend some ground and pound or defend a submission to open up a transition, pass into a better position. And, she's a position over submission girl, so she won't really go hard for any submissions that aren't 100% there. And, she will... just keep the position, ride girls out, and is pretty good at just winning on points. She did get a little bit of a scare in her last fight, though, against Molly McCann when McCann did get pretty deep on an armbar against Procopio, but obviously Procopio's submission defense is very good, being a longtime black belt, and, she comes in shape, she pushes a high pace, but I wouldn't want to, really be lazy like that and get your arms caught or get caught in a triangle against a girl like Casey O'Neal, because she'll start throwing big elbows. She's a lot better at finishing the submissions, sticking the submissions than Molly is. So definitely think it would be a little bit more of a dangerous proposition there if she does end up in a similar position. But Casey O'Neal, she's looking to continue her winning ways. She's undefeated. She's 6-0. She's 23 years old, so she's a little bit younger than Procopio, who's 25. And she's an Australian prospect, but she's training out of the United States. She's at Extreme Couture, so very good gym. And she has a lot of hype. She has a lot of fanfare around her. And she didn't disappoint in her debut against Shayna Dobson. She was able to finish Dobson in the second round. But this fight against Procopio is a real test. If she can defeat Procopio, she will prove that she's the real deal. And on the feet, to me, O'Neal is still developing a little bit. She has kind of a similar style to Procopio, except I don't think she has quite the same timing with her counter punches or the same ability to strike in the pocket. She's more a girl that prefers to be all the way in or all the way out, but she has a long frame herself for the division. She's actually going to have a height and reach advantage in this fight, and she's pretty athletic, so she's good at kind of throwing straight punches, throwing kicks, staying kind of technical and keeping the range. She tries to kind of walk fighters into, long 1-2s, front kicks, round kicks. But the thing is, though, she a little bit of the time, she can kind of stay in the pocket after she throws some punches. Her defense isn't very good. And, I think if fighters pressure her, I think if Procopio forces her to exchange, that Procopio is probably going to have a lot of success. I could see both these girls kind of standing on a napkin in the middle of the octagon, though, and going to war, because O'Neal is the kind of girl that is super tough. She invites the fight, and she kind of gives one to take one. She'll talk shit in there, and I feel like she could maybe have a power edge, but it's marginal. I really doubt either girl will get the KO TKO, but I think O'Neal might be kind of a girl that could, even if she's getting beat up really, she's getting out-technicaled by a large margin, she could make it ugly and still kind of make it competitive on the feet, even if Procopio's kind of a level above technically, in my opinion. But Casey O'Neal's bread and butter is really in the grappling. She's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and she's a great frame, raw power, physicality. She definitely is the better wrestler here, and she will pressure her way into the clinch or the double leg, and from there she usually can finish the takedown. She's really strong. You see her on IG, lifting weights, and you could tell, she definitely is probably one of the strongest girls in the division, and she's been training at Extreme Couture for years now, so her wrestling is definitely leveled up, and even her defensive wrestling is very good, especially in the clinch, which is where Procopio is probably going to be trying to get the takedowns. And she has really good flexibility, dexterity in her legs. Her ability to defend single legs or, take the back off the single leg is really, really, really excellent. She's a back-taking wizard, man. The back-taking queen. And, she's very, very strong. Like I said, in the clinch, like I told you guys, Procopio likes to use those wizard kick takedowns, things like that. I just don't think that's going to be effective against Casey O'Neal. And O'Neal's hard to hold down. Usually she can find her way to top position in the scrambles, and, she will attack off her back with elbows, with triangles, with arm bars. And on top, she's very aggressive. She has great passing ability. She likes to mount and or take the back, flatten girls out, and go to work with her ground and pound. And she will look for mounted triangles, arm bars, kind of will give up position at times going for submissions, but she just is so confident that, she could scramble and her ability off bottom, and she's just very confident in her cardio as well. I believe that she wants to try to push a pace, really try to just attack at any moment, and she knows that if she ends up on her back, she could still attack and, create a scramble, get into a better position. So I think she feels like even if she loses the position, her cardio is going to, and her sweeps and her kind of scramble game is going to get her through. And she has a great pace. I mean, she really is a tough girl. I feel like this is a really awesome fight because, like I said, I mean, I do think Procopio might be a little bit ahead in terms of the striking, but I think O'Neal can make it competitive, and I do think O'Neal is going to eventually start pressing the action in terms of the grappling more than Procopio, trying to get the takedowns. I see certain people thinking Procopio is going to come out here and out-grapple O'Neal. In my opinion, Procopio should try to keep it on the feet and box. I think that would be her best path to victory because in terms of the grappling, I mean, Procopio is the higher-level jiu-jitsu player, but O'Neal is no slouch on the ground. She's a purple belt, so it's not like she is a fish out of water there. And in my opinion, she's going to be significantly more athletic, significantly stronger, and a lot better wrestler. So I feel like if she's on top, that's kind of O'Neal's world. I don't really see Procopio, maybe being able to hit a sweep or a submission off of her back. I think that O'Neal is going to be able to control that a little bit, and I could see her even just more keeping it, on the feet in the clinch against the cage, working there. And I just feel like she's going to be able to get the best of it. I think she's going to want it a little more, and it's going to show in the fight. She's going to be able to kind of take over down the stretch. So I'm going to go with Casey O'Neal. I feel like she's just going to grit it out this one. I think that she's a girl that, kind of has an edge to her. She has a little bit of, something where I think that she could, use her technical skills, but also use, her mentality and just kind of just whatever it is inside of her to kind of get wins as well. So I think that O'Neal is going to kind of grit this one out and pick up a close competitive victory. And I think both these girls are both going to be back and be around in the division for a while. With this next fight, we got two returning guys. We got Joaquim Silva, who has not fought since August of 2019, where he was knocked out by Nasrat Haqparast, and he's 4-2 in the UFC, so he's done fairly well. And he's going to be taking on Rick Glenn, who hasn't fought in almost 3 years. The last time we saw Rick Glenn fight was on The Ultimate Fighter 28, where Kamaru Usman fought Rafael dos Anjos. And he lost to Kevin Aguilar that night. He took a lot of damage in that fight. And, Rick Glenn, he's probably most well known for that beatdown he had against Gavin Tucker. And he has another solid win over Dennis Bermudez. So he definitely has been tested in the UFC, even if his losses are against tough competition as well. He probably has the more high-level experience as opposed to Joaquim Silva. And, Glenn, though, he is moving up to lightweight here. So at featherweight, he had a big advantage in terms of size in a lot of his fights. He was 6 feet tall. He probably had a big weight advantage on certain guys. And in this division, I don't think he's going to necessarily be a small guy, but he's not going to have those same advantages. He has been planning to move to lightweight for a while, though, because he was scheduled to fight against Carlton Minus at 155 pounds last December. Unfortunately, Rick Glenn tested positive for COVID, so that fight was pulled. But, Rick Glenn, his style, he kind of has like a steady style. He isn't a great athlete, but he's tough, he's gritty. And, if you don't come in there to fight, he will make you work and he will take it out of you. But, he's a southpaw. He has a big reach and height advantage, at least at 145. In this fight, he's still going to have a pretty good height advantage. And, he does a decent job of pressuring, feinting, kind of trying to stay at his range. And he'll look to land some straight punch combos, 3-2s. And he has a nice left kick to the body and to the head. So he will throw that left kick up the middle. He also has a great chin, which really, allows him to continue to come forward, take fighter shots, and wear them out. And, where he's at his best is in that dirty boxing range in the clinch. He uses good elbows. He has good knees to the body, good knees and elbows off the breaks of the clinches. And he's good at kind of just leaning and wearing on opponents, making them kind of carry his weight in the clinch and tiring him out. And he has a lot of late finishes, second, third round finishes by knockout, more of a kind of just fatigue knockouts. But he has finished 11 of his wins by KO TKO. And, he's never been finished by strike. So it just shows how durable he is. He hasn't been finished in almost 30 fights, but he did take some pretty significant damage. He did get dropped in his last fight against Aguilar. So, his chin may be, a little bit going, especially moving up to 155 against a power guy in Silva. But Rick Glenn, he's a solid grappler as well. I spoke about his clinch work a little bit, and in terms of the wrestling, he doesn't really have great offensive wrestling. He will look for trips, for takedowns, but, unless he tires his opponents out first, he usually isn't great at finishing. If Glenn can get the takedown, he does do a good job with his control, with his ground and pound. We saw that in his fight with Gavin Tucker and other fights he's had. And defensively, he has pretty good takedown defense and a really good get-up game. And historically, throughout his career, he's done well against wrestlers. He's been able to stuff a lot of takedowns, work back up quickly to his feet when he was taken down, and, wear these guys out, take them out late, or kind of win a close decision. In this fight, I doubt he's going to have to deal with many takedown attempts. In terms of his submission game for Rick Glenn, it's not really that high level. He has 4 submissions, but none of them were against great opponents, and one of them was a submission of punches. So even that one wasn't really a real sub. And he has been submitted a couple times. He did get taken down, dominated by Evan Dunham. So the last time he was at 55s was against Dunham, and he kind of got bullied a little bit, but. You can't blame him too much. Against Dennis Bermudez, who's also a formidable wrestler, he definitely had a better showing in that one. And he has great cardio. He doesn't really slow down. If fighters don't come to fight, he can't surprise them and take them out. So he's just kind of that guy. For Joaquim Silva, man, I mean, he's an excellent fighter. I think people kind of maybe forgot about him a little bit. But he's well-rounded. He has killer instinct, and he's explosive. He has big knockout power. He has a good submission game. And he's more of a counter striker. He has a really fast hand speed, and he has a wide stance. He likes to slide in and out of range and kind of push opponents back behind his feints. He has a really good straight right hand. He'll throw big wide hooks in the pocket, good kicks to the body, to the head. And when he stands in front of his opponents, or he can back them up, like if they want to trade in the pocket with him, or if he can get you near the cage and work his punching combinations, he mixes it up really well. Hooks to the body, hooks up to the head, uppercuts, and throws concussive power, man. He really loads up on all his shots. Sometimes he kind of will, plant his feet and really wing shots. And when opponents can move and strike, he could struggle a little bit. He's also a little bit low volume. He doesn't have great defense. And he had a very good chin, but he did get knocked out in his fight against Nasrat Hakparas, which, you have to kind of put that into account a little bit. And he struggles with fighters who can pressure him and kind of, pressure him but stay at their range and stick and move. So with Rick Glenn, I think he's going to have a little bit of a easier time touching up Rick Glenn. It's just going to come down to the, if Rick Glenn could take the shots and continue to come forward. But Silva does have a good gas tank, and he got a nasty knockout in the 3rd round against Jared Gordon, so you could tell that he's definitely improving with his cardio, with his pacing. He has 7 knockouts, and he's only been finished 1 time by strikes, and he isn't a great wrestler. I mean, he's flat-footed. Sometimes, like I said, he can really sit down and wing on shots, so fighters can work to take him down, but in the clinch, he digs underhooks really well, and he's hard to take down in the clinch, and Rick Glenn isn't the type of guy that really shoots from range. Silva, when he can see this shot coming, he does have a decent sprawl, and his get-ups are really good, man. He's really hard to hold down. That's something that he's shown throughout his career, and, they don't call him Neto BJJ for anything. He's a black belt. He has good sweeps, good submission game off his back, and, we saw him tear Jared Gordon's hamstring with a leg attack, so he definitely has some tricks up his sleeve even off bottom. He doesn't really look for takedowns. I mean, he only has 1 takedown in his UFC career, but he has 3 submissions, and he's only been submitted 1 time against Glyco França, who's a legit black belt. In this fight, I feel like if Rick Glenn gets on top of Silva, it could be an issue for him, but I don't necessarily see Rick Glenn being as effective taking him down, and I don't think Rick Glenn's going to be able to necessarily control him on the ground. With this fight, I mean, Rick Glenn's going to be pressuring, coming forward, and I think Silva is going to have a big speed advantage and a advantage in the footwork and the movement. So I think Silva is going to be just looking to attack the body, try to work uppercuts, and maybe try to even work front knees, or just try to catch Rick Glenn, because he's going to be trying to come forward and cross the distance, ducking his head. And I feel like Silva's going to have a good chance to catch him and put him out here in this fight. I mean, Rick Glenn hasn't fought in nearly 3 years, moving up a division. I think this is a decent matchup for Silva. But if Silva, goes out there in the first round, maybe hurts Rick Glenn and you can't finish him, and Rick Glenn could maybe take over down the stretch if Silva has an adrenaline dump or slows down a little bit, or maybe gets taken down and beat up in one of the rounds. So I think that Silva is probably going to be able to get the win, maybe even be the first guy to knock out Rick Glenn. But Rick Glenn does have certain paths to victory in this fight. Man, I mean, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this bullshit. We got Josh Parisian taking on Rocky Martinez. I mean, we got two guys that, big heavyweights. We got, Parisian's a big guy. He's 6'4". He's 265. He probably cuts weight to make the limit. 265.5 he weighed in his last fight. But he tries to fight like a little guy, man. He throws a lot of spinning attacks. He, tries to, throw combination punches in the pocket, and he really loops. His boxing to me is really bad. I feel like he's dangerous because he has some decent hand speed for a heavyweight, and he will go for it, throw in combination, throw overhands, uppercuts, and he'll throw with power. So he can overwhelm some low level guys, and he's been able to use those spinning attacks, like he caught Greg Rebello with that spinning back fist, or use those spinning back kicks to the body, to the head. So, early on that first round, that's where he's gotten almost all of his wins, and he's dangerous. Because he's, like I said, he's athletic, and he will go for it. He'll throw some attacks that most heavyweights probably aren't used to seeing. But, the guy, like, if you pressure him, you get into boxing range, he doesn't really have much for you there. I actually do think Rocky has the better hands on the inside, and Rocky just has to kind of pressure, get past that reach, get on the inside, and kind of just let his hands go. And I feel like he could wear on Parisian as well. Parisian also, like, his grappling is really, really very bad in my opinion. You see him getting taken down by guys that are 185-pounders, 8 and 10 guys like Marcus Maldine, and controlled on the ground. We saw in his last fight against Parker Porter, he, gets tired. He'll start shooting for takedowns of his own when he's tired, and, really sloppy takedowns. He's been able to get on top of a few low-level guys and finish them off, but, against UFC-level opponents, I don't necessarily think he's going to be effective with his takedowns whatsoever. And, he's kind of a turtle off of his back, man. He doesn't have much off his back at all. His cardio is horrendous. He really, really slows down majorly. And, his resume just doesn't really leave a lot to be desired. He doesn't really... he hasn't fought a lot of good guys. He doesn't really have any good wins. Whenever he really takes a step up in competition outside of the Greg Rebello fight where he hit that first round spinning back fist KO, it usually doesn't fare well for him. So, but he's the slight favorite coming in here against Rocky Martinez, because Rocky Martinez, the guy's probably not a heavyweight. He's 5'10", and he doesn't cut weight because he just isn't in great shape. But to me, if you're talking about the guy that has a better cardio, he's the tougher guy, I would give it to Rocky Martinez. He does have 2 losses in a row, so this is a very vital fight for his career. If he loses this fight, he's probably going to be cut, maybe even, retire or something. I don't know. But 35 years old, this is definitely kind of a make-or-break situation for Rocky. If you watch Rocky's last fight, it was against a similar opponent in Dontel Mays, who I think is a better fighter than Parisian, because I think he's more athletic, and I think he kind of... maybe does a better job pacing himself and using his weapons the proper way, where Parisian just kind of is a little bit, all kind of, he's just all over the place a little bit. But Rocky did kind of get into that fight in the third round. He had landed some nice punches in the third round, got on the inside. And if that's what he has to do in this fight, he has to get on the inside, maybe even try to hit some takedowns. His wrestling probably is better than Josh Parisian's. I don't necessarily know if he's going to be able to take Josh Parisian down early on, but Parisian's tired in that third round. I wouldn't be surprised if, he went for a takedown, Rocky stuffed, got on top, or, Rocky was able to take him down. And, the striking, I feel like, Roki's a tough guy, and I think that might be all you need to beat a guy like Josh Parisian, survive that first round, and could be his fight. So, I mean, man, I don't know. I'm going to go with Roki Martinez to get the win. I'm going to say he gets a third round finish in this fight. But, man, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Parisian wins the first round and maybe squeaks out another round. It's a super ugly fight, or I don't necessarily think that Roki is a type of guy, even if he's not a great fighter. I don't think that he's going to fold and just roll over like a lot of Parisian's opponents have in the first round. And if he doesn't do that, I just don't have a lot of faith Parisian's going to be able to go all 3 rounds and get the win. So, just because of that, I'm going to go with Roki Martinez. In terms of betting this fight, you have to be crazy, in my opinion, to bet this fight. So, don't really... I don't know. It'll be fun to watch, I guess, and we'll see the outcome. But I'm going to go with Roki Martinez. Here we go. Now we're getting back to some good fights. We got Matt Semelsberger taking on Khaos Williams. And Matt Semelsberger, he had an excellent performance in his second UFC outing. He did a lackluster debut a little bit, where, he was able to get the win over Carlton Minus, but wasn't the best fight. But, man, he came back. He knocked Jason Witt out in less than 30 seconds. And at 20 years old, he definitely has potential because he's athletic. He has a good frame for the division. He has some power. And, he has a good left hook right-hand combination. Throws a lot of 1-2s and 3-2s. And he likes to double jab his way into range for that big overhand right. He'll also, jab or left hook to right uppercut combos he likes to do. He'll rip the body with that left hook. And he likes to feint his way into really nice standing elbows, good pull counters. And I expect him to use a lot of leg kicks in this fight because Khaos Williams doesn't check kicks. Defensively, Semelsberger's pretty good. He does have a tendency to brawl a little bit at times, but, he keeps the distance pretty well. He has better movement, in my opinion, than Khaos Williams. He doesn't open up as much as Khaos Williams. So, defensively, I definitely give a pretty sizable edge in terms of the defensive striking to Matthew Semelsberger. And Matthew Semelsberger is an explosive fighter. He's an improving grappler. He's a former high school wrestler, so his level changes are pretty good. He was able to get a couple takedowns on Carlton Minus, and on top, he isn't the greatest. He doesn't really have great top pressure, doesn't have the best submission game, but, in terms of defensive wrestling, he'll switch stances, get different looks, and he will try to, keep the distance, use a lot of movement, and time shots as fighters level change, so he's hard to get in on, and when he does get taken down, he has pretty good scrambling ability initially. If you do cement the takedown, his get-ups aren't really that good, but, you could tell he has some jiu-jitsu, he will attack some leg locks, his guard isn't too bad, but he can't get held down and lose rounds. He only has one submission, which is a heel hook victory in his career. Cardio-wise, I do think Semelsberger slows down. He's been finishing the third round in both of his losses, so that is something that you have to take into account a little bit. And his opponent, Khaos Williams, he kind of fell back to earth a little bit in his last fight. He had 2 really good performances. He dropped in his first 2 UFC fights, he had 2 really good performances, but his last fight, he dropped that decision to Michel Pereira. And in this fight, he has a good matchup. He's fighting a fellow striker with limited experience like himself. But Khaos Williams, man, he's a wild man. He's a beast. He's very explosive, power left hooks, really good straights, and definitely has one-punch knockout power. When he lands, his kill shot, it's probably over. But sometimes he can close the distance really wild, leave himself really vulnerable. He's gotten better. It looks like throwing straighter punches down the middle. And, when he does come forward, it's obviously you have to respect his power. So even if he opens up real wide, sometimes guys aren't confident enough to, stand in the pocket and counter in fear of, him closing that gap faster. And Williams, though, some of his kicks to me are not very technical. He doesn't really look like he has very dangerous kicks. His fight IQ is good, though, because you saw in his fight with Michel Pereira, he made that adjustment in the third round to start to counterpunch, and it actually almost got Pereira out of there. He landed some nice punches, and Williams always has that equalizer, man. If he lands that shot, he can knock you out. 6 knockouts, and he's a very durable guy. He's never been finished. Obviously, he's a guy you don't really want to trade or brawl with, so, he's dangerous. But he's going to be trying to close the distance and get the fight to the ground in this fight, I think. I think he's going to try to use his punches to back Semelsberger up, get in the clinch, and he's pretty physical there, but his takedowns are not very technical. he was able to get some fighters to the mat and work them over on the regional scene, but in the UFC, he hasn't gotten any takedowns. I feel like in this fight, though, he's just going to want to try to get it out of that free-flowing range after a while. Maybe not try to get leg kicked as much as he's going to be getting. But he does have a great, his defensive wrestling is not that bad. I mean, he can be taken down in certain fights. But I feel like in this fight, he's probably not going to get taken down. His submission game isn't very good, but he does have good cardio. He has good toughness, and he does have that kind of intensity that he brings to the fight that a lot of fighters don't have. And this fight should be a banger. I mean, matchup-wise, I think, it favors Semelsberger a little bit because Semelsberger's an athletic mover who switches stances and likes to pull counter, and he could probably walk Williams into something big and really hurt him. I think his leg kicks could add up as well. And I also think, I feel like I don't know if Semelsberger or Williams will be able to take each other down, but I think if someone can take him down or someone has the wrestling advantage, I actually think it probably is going to be Matt Semelsberger. Semelsberger, has said in interviews, though, that he cares more about being in fun fights and getting the win, and he does have limited experience. Sometimes he will brawl. So if he does brawl with Khaos, it could become a 50-50 fight. It could spell a bad night for him. Cardio-wise, I also think Khaos has the edge a little bit. And Semelsberger has been finished by strikes in the past, so this is a tough fight to call, but I'm going to go with Semelsberger. I think he plays it smart. I think he even, maybe has to grapple a little bit if it becomes a hard fight, but I could even see him landing a big shot and hurting and taking out Khaos as well. So I'm going to go with Matt Semelsberger in this one to pull off the slight upset. And up next year, we got an excellent fight. We got Virna Jandiroba taking on Kanako Murata, and, great clash of styles here where we have a elite jiu-jitsu black belt in Virna taking on a, world team wrestler from Japan in Kanako Murata, who actually has a purple belt in jiu-jitsu as well, so it's not like she's a fish out of water on the ground. As far as the striking goes for both girls, I mean, Virna, she's a little bit longer, and she has a little bit of a reach advantage, and she does like to, throw 1-2s, throw a lot of front kicks, round kicks, and try to walk you down. Kind of has that Muay Thai style, not a lot of feints, not a lot of fakes, not a lot of head movement, but comes forward, throws hard, and, she will throw a lot of stuff out there, but she doesn't really have the fear of getting taken down. But in this fight, I mean, Kanako Murata, she's going to be trying to take her down, and she probably is going to take her down a lot. Murata on the feet, I actually feel like is a little bit better because she is much more athletic and much faster. I think that she has a lot better movement. She's in and out pretty well. And she throws power left hooks. She's not really a combination girl. She'll really throw, left hooks or the overhand or straight right. In my opinion, she has the power advantage and the speed advantage. And I do think if they just trade on the feet, I think Murata might get a little bit better of the exchanges because she's going to have the power and the speed advantage, like I said, and be able to maybe touch Virna a little bit more than Virna touches her. But I don't really necessarily see Murata, some fights like Mackenzie Dern versus Virna where, it's two grapplers, it becomes a striking fight. In this one, I think Murata is going to have the same game plan, look to take her down. I mean, we saw the success that another fellow wrestler in Carla Esparza had against Virna Jandiroba with her takedowns and her top control game, and I feel like Kanako Murata is a higher level wrestler than Carla Esparza. It's just going to come down to, Virna Jandiroba is going to be able to, sometimes Kanako will go for the single leg and, expose her back. So Virna may be able to jump on the back in a scramble. She obviously, has some decent submissions off bottom, some sweeps. So Kanako has to be very turned on. We've seen Kanako in certain fights, against Emily Ducote, things like that, get caught in some deep arm bars, get, in some submission trouble. She's always been able to kind of get out of them fairly easily. And, her one loss was a submission loss to Rin Nakai, but Rin Nakai is a girl that fights at 135, 145, very big. So I wouldn't really put, much stock into that. Kanako is also only 4-0, and Nakai had almost 20 fights, so it wasn't really a fair matchup. And, with this fight, I think the purple belt of Murata is kind of being underestimated. I think a lot of people are thinking, she's just a wrestler. She's going to get taken down and get submitted right away. But I think Kanako Murata, knows what she's doing down there as well as, being a very good wrestler. She can float on top excellently. She could smash and pass, and she does a great job of, staying calm in submissions, working her way out. I feel like Virna is a much better top game player than off of her back. And that was kind of shown in the fight with Carla Esparza, where when Esparza got on top, she was able to control, have a lot of success, didn't really get put in a lot of submission trouble. She had to get swept a couple times, and Virna had success on top. But, even if Virna gets on top of Kanako Murata, I think Murata, unless she exposes her back, is going to be able to probably scream back up to her feet and, be able to avoid a lot of submission trouble there. So I just feel like Murata is going to be able to implement her game, get the takedowns, heavy top pressure, stay out of a lot of the submission danger, maybe try to stay out of the guard. Even on the feet, I think she's going to, be getting a little bit of the better of the exchanges. It's an interesting fight, like I said, because of the clash of styles. But I just feel like Virna, she's better, like I said, on top than on bottom. And I think Murata is going to be able to use her striking a little bit, win a little bit on the striking, hit some takedowns, maybe hit up near the end of the round where there's not a lot of time to work. And, be able to grind out the top position and get the victory here. So I'm going to go with Kanako Murata. I just feel like, she's primed to get a big-time victory. And I think she can, make some noise in the division here. In this next one, this is another fight I don't really have a ton of interest in, with Negumereanu taking on Aleksei Camur. We got Negumereanu. He's making his return after quite a long layoff. The last time we saw him fight was that wild fight and kind of wild build-up against Safarov, where they got into a fight at the weigh-in. He got kind of slapped or pushed a little bit, and then during the fight, Safarov had, I think, 2 points taken for grabbing the fence and doing a lot of illegal shit in the fight. So Negumereanu, he kind of got beat up pretty badly in that fight. Really hard ground and pound. Looked kind of lost. Didn't really look like he belonged in there. And, he's taking some time off. And he was a young guy. I think he was like 23, 24 when that fight happened. Now he's 26. So, he could have leveled up potentially a little bit. He's going to take it on Alexa Camur, who kind of had a bad showing in his last fight where he got taken down and controlled by William Knight, who, has proven to not be the best fighter. But, William Knight has been able to get some wins over some decent guys, even though his last fight was really bad showing. It's not the worst loss in the world, I guess, for a young prospect. But this fight, to me, it's kind of a crapshoot fight. I wouldn't really want anything to do with it. I've watched a few of Negumereanu's fights, even his wins. Like, he was fighting Yorki Gurbenko, who's a heavyweight, kind of like he's a guy that's like 12-50. He's a guy that goes in kind of to lose fights. And, he was tagging up Negumereanu. He was landing some nice shots on the feet and kind of not like hurt him or anything, but definitely was maybe getting a little bit better of the stand-up before, Nick got the takedown and had some decent control at the end of the round. And then, Yorgi Gurbenko didn't want to come out for the second or the third round or something, I believe. And then, his fight with Safarov, he just didn't look very good at all. I feel like he's not a very skilled fighter at all. I think the UFC's trying to kind of give Stipe's trade partner a little bit of a solid here and get him the win. Camur, he at least has decent movement. We saw him get that okay win on the Contender Series where he got the flying knee over Fabio Chiarot. And, maybe Negumereanu is going to be able to try to take him down, maybe get him down, but I don't know. I got to go with Aleksei Camur in this one. I just think he's the more proven commodity. A lot of fights I saw Negumereanu get in. It was against very low-level competition and didn't even look very impressive in those fights. So, yeah, don't have a lot to say about this matchup, but I'm going to go with Aleksei Camur in this one. Next year we got an awesome fight, man. This should be a banger right here, too, with Dhiego Lima taking on Matt Brown. Both these guys always bring it. They're veterans, and, obviously Matt Brown, he's a legend of the game, but 40 years old at this point. He's been losing a lot recently. His record is 22-18 now, and Dhiego Lima, he's actually been on a good run. Prior to that loss against Bilal, which wasn't even a bad performance, he had won 3 fights in a row. He had gotten 2 knockouts, and or I think he'd only gotten 1 knockout, but he'd gotten a big win over Court McGee, a veteran. And, he definitely had been showing really, really good, skills. Dhiego Lima, in my opinion, is a very dangerous, underrated striker in that division. And I think he's kind of a bad matchup for a guy like Matt Brown because he's a power guy and he has counter-punching skills and nasty leg kicks, man. Kind of a similar look to Miguel Baeza where, Lima has really nice left hook, right hand combos. His left hook counter is sick, man. If he lands that clean on Matt Brown, I think he's going to knock him out. And, his leg is really powerful. I mean, his leg kicks are nasty. He has hard body kicks. He'll throw front kicks up the middle. He has good movement, good lateral movement. He's just going to be looking to, move around, add up those leg kicks against Matt Brown. Look for those, 3-2 combinations. Look for his, big left hook counter. Look for the straight right counters. Try to keep it technical and not get into too much of a brawl. And, if he does that, I really think he's going to be very effective and be able to potentially put Matt Brown's lights out. I mean, Matt Brown, his chin, in my opinion, is kind of going. It's not as good as it used to be. And I thought he had a terrible performance in his last fight against Carlos Condit. I thought he really got very fatigued in that fight pretty quickly after the first round. And, he didn't really do much on the feet at all. He looked kind of lost on the feet. He was really trying to force the grappling, and even in the grappling, Condit got the better of him there as well. So wasn't a good look, in my opinion, for Matt Brown at 40 years old. But Matt Brown, in this fight, he's just going to have to try to pressure, get inside the reach and the range of Dhiego Lima, try to, take the power away from that left hand, from the straights, from the kicks, and, get on the inside where he can have the better of the exchanges on the inside. He's probably a better dirty boxer. Obviously, he has those really nice elbows. And, he has some pop on the inside. And Lima, in certain fights, has been knocked out. He's been knocked out in the first round quite a few times. So, Matt Brown, if I was him, I would try to come out really hot. Try to get that early finish. And for Dhiego Lima, I mean, he's going to have to try to maybe settle into the fight a little bit if Matt Brown comes out with a lot of intensity. But I think it's going to be a striking fight. I don't necessarily see Matt Brown taking him down. I think Dhiego has really good takedown defense. And, Matt Brown isn't really the best wrestler in the world. So I think it's going to be on the feet. And I do favor the slick, technical style of Dhiego Lima. I think Lima is probably going to get a highlight reel knockout in this fight, unfortunately for Matt Brown fans. But I just feel like Dhiego's at a much better spot in his career. He had a lot of hype at one point. And, if he can win 4 out of 5 here and knock out Matt Brown, he can kind of finally start to live up to that hype a little bit. And I feel like his skill set is there. I mean, the guy is tall, he's rangy, he has great counter punches, he's athletic, he has power, he throws hard low kicks, his black belt in jiu-jitsu, his defensive wrestling is getting better and better, his cardio is good. So, I mean, I think Lima is a good fighter. I think that he's someone that could beat a lot of guys in the division, and I don't necessarily see Matt Brown and Matt Brown's style, giving a ton of issues to Lima. I think Lima's going to be able to find that finish at one point and take Matt Brown out. I also think Matt Brown, like I said, his cardio really failed him in his last fight, so if he can't get that early finish, I think he's really going to slow down, and I think Lima will take over as well, cardio-wise. So I like Dhiego Lima in this fight, and I think he's going to be able to get the finish here. Hey, in this one we got an all-Brazilian fight here. We got Bruno Silva taking on Wellington Turman. And, Bruno Silva is finally making his UFC debut. I mean, he got signed all the way back in 2019, but, eventually, he was supposed to fight Duran Win, I believe, or I'm not 100% sure on that. I believe it was. But, he popped for steroids. It delayed his debut by 2 years, and he hasn't fought since November of 2018, so it's been quite a while. But prior to the layoff, Silva was on a great run. He was 14-1 since 2012, and his last 4 wins are all knockouts. So he's been competing primarily in Russia. He's fought some high-level guys, but with him failing that drug test, it's really kind of tough to be confident in how he's going to look coming in here if he's going to be the same fighter. Because he's a wild man. I mean, he's a guy that has no fear in there. He's a knockout artist. 16 knockouts in his 19 wins. And, he's explosive. He has a really long reach for the division. It doesn't have his reach there, but I would assume it's probably 77 inches. Probably pretty significant reach. And, he does a good job of kind of really putting full extension on his straight punches and on his left hook, and he has big power and he closes distance really well. He does a good job ending combinations with knees to the body or the head. He'll sometimes start or end combinations with high kicks, and he's a switch stance fighter, but when he goes southpaw, it seems like he's really only looking to shoot that jab out there. His jab from southpaw is very sharp and effective, but he doesn't have as good of defense from southpaw or takedown defense. So I feel like in this fight, just stay orthodox. He's not a technical fighter. I mean, he's usually just very wild. His defense is not very good, but he's a guy that has big power in his punches, and if he touches you, he's going to be able to knock you out. He also has a strong chin. He's never been finished by strikes, so his brawling style is able to be bailed out by his durability. But he's also very dangerous in close quarters. In the clinch, really devastating knees. He has really good knees in the Muay Thai clinch, flying knees in close range, and he will mix it up. He'll look to hit takedowns at times, but isn't a very good or technical wrestler. He primarily shoots doubles, and a lot of times he doesn't really set them up. They're from way too far out, but if he does manage to take you down, he does have good ground and pound, and he was able to finish his last fight with ground and pound. But Silva will switch stances, like I said, and when he goes to southpaw, his takedown defense is not very good. Even when he's in orthodox, his takedown defense is not great, but just his balance is a little bit better from that position. But Silva doesn't really defend takedowns very well overall. Artem Frolov was able to take him down multiple times. Moises Rimbone was able to outgrapple Silva, ultimately caught him in a standing Kimura. And, Silva did do a better job against Frolov of creating scrambles and not being dominated so badly on the ground than he did in his fight against Rimbone. So he showed some improvement. But, his style of being so reckless closing the distance does give fighters that ability to level change. And, he doesn't really have a great get-up game when he does get taken down. So that is how you beat him. Sometimes he could be losing fights and just kind of stay calm and, eventually get the finish. Like, he was able to get a 4th-round finish in his last fight. But obviously, in 3-round fights, if he's getting taken down, controlled, he, has to be a little bit more urgent and, be able to get back up to his feet or find that finish, or he's going to lose. But he's going to be taking on a guy in Wellington Turman, who's a young fighter out of Brazil, who's not had an easy road in the UFC. He's had to face 3 really solid fighters, and he's only managed to go 1-2. His last fight was a loss to Andrew Sanchez, where he got knocked out badly, which was a bad look for him. And it's been over a year since he's fought, so at only 24 years old, he's probably going to look improved here. But Wellington, he's an aggressive jiu-jitsu fighter, and on the feet, he has more of a Muay Thai style. Doesn't really use a lot of feints, head movement, but he comes forward, high guard, power crosses. He has that heavy right kick, and he will come forward with straight right, left hook combos. He uses a lot of front kicks up the middle to try to back opponents up, and he's flat-footed and a bit stiff and deliberate, though, and, his defense is not very good. He doesn't fake or feint, and fighters know exactly when he's coming. He becomes very predictable, and most recently, he was able to, or Andrew Sanchez was able to catch Turman coming in with a nasty 3-2 as Turman was going for a naked body kick and knocked him out brutally. And Turman's a fighter who relied on his chin in a lot of his fights. He got into wars, he would goad guys, and so if his chin is a little bit gone, that's a huge detriment to him as a fighter. He throws hard, but he's not, necessarily going to be a big knockout threat to a lot of guys. His main objective in his fights is to get the fight to the ground, uses forward pressure, and, tries to punch his way to the clinch. And if he can get those double underhooks, he's really good at dragging fighters to the ground, circling to the back. And from there, Turman will go to work. He's a submission over position type of guy. He's always looking to create opportunities to finish the fight. He's a back taker. He has multiple rear naked choke victories, and he'll also jump on front chokes when fighters work to their knees to stand up. He will jump guillotine, and that does give up the position at times, but I have seen him get a couple finishes with that choke, so he's pretty successful with it. And his aggressiveness does get him reversed at times. We saw in his fight against Carl Roberson. Roberson was able to sneak out a victory against Turman by just Turman being a little bit too comfortable trying to lock up a submission off of his back after losing position. And, Turman is relentless, though. He's tough. He stays in shape. He's ready to fight. And I'm sure, as he continues to get older and progress, he's going to round out his striking game and his fight IQ a little bit. But this is a close fight because both fighters' strengths are their weaknesses of their opponent. Bruno Silva is a fighter who creates chaos on the feet. He has one-punch knockout power, and that's a big threat to a deliberate, flat-footed guy like Wellington Turman, especially since Turman was just knocked out in his last fight. And Wellington Turman has the wrestling, the jiu-jitsu to threaten and give issues to Silva, and Silva has been submitted 5 times. He's struggled with takedown defense. He's coming off that USADA suspension, a long layoff, so he may come in looking like a lesser version of himself. Definitely want to check out the weigh-in, see what he looks like. It's a pretty 50-50 fight in my opinion. I'm just going to take Bruno Silva on the feet. I think he's very live for a knockout. On the ground, I think Silva has a better chance to scramble and either work his way to top position or get back up to his feet. I think he's a little bit better on the ground than Turman is on the feet. I think he can compete maybe a little bit more. It's a hard fight to be confident in, but my pick's going to be Bruno Silva by first or second round knockout in this one. This should be a super banger, too. I mean, we got two guys that are peaking in their careers right now with Julian Erosa, who's won 3 fights in a row. Has really turned around that, kind of bad resume that he had in the UFC, kind of starting to, make a name for himself and, make fans forget about that a little bit. And this win right here against Seung Choi, probably get him close to the top 15 and get him, kind of fully turned around here. But Seung Choi is going to be trying to deny Julian Erosa from getting that. And this guy's a beast, man. He's a long, tall guy. He's going to be able to match Erosa and the intangibles there, the height and the reach pretty much. And, he's a great technical striker. He's won 2 fights in a row. He's coming off that big victory over Yusuf Zalal, and he's kind of proved that he's kind of patched up at least a little bit that defensive wrestling and, issue with this takedown defense and submission game that he had against Movsar Evloev, that he had against Gavin Tucker. I definitely don't think Julian Erosa is on that level of a grappler, on their level. I don't think he's going to be able to necessarily hit the takedowns too effectively. But we all know what Erosa wants to do. He's a dog. He wants to pressure forward, throw a lot of volume, not make it a technical fight. He wants to make it a brawl. He wants to, be very creative, mix in some high kicks, some knees, and, try to time his counter hooks, really try to push the pace. And maybe even if he, can time a takedown or try to grab the neck from standing, he could even do that, try to really, force his cardio on Choi and maybe try to get ahead on the numbers. But I think that Seung Choi is going to be the much more technical striker. I think that his straight punches down the middle and just, just his overall fluidity and footwork, his distance control, his leg kicks, his jab, his pull counters, I think they're going to be very effective in this fight. He also has really nice elbows, and he'll throw some nice front kicks and spinning kicks. So he's a dangerous guy. He's also not a guy that is going to overextend or put himself in a lot of bad positions, which Erosa does a good job capitalizing on guys' mistakes. I don't think Choi is going to make a lot of mistakes. I also think in the clinch, Choi, if Erosa wants to try to go for takedowns, I think Choi can make him pay in the clinch. I think he could, work his knees, work his elbows, really batter Erosa up, be the stronger guy there. And I think that's going to be the tail of the fight. I think that if Erosa can get rest in the clinch, not even get rest, but just get some points to clinch with control, even hit some takedowns, then that's gonna go a long way towards him winning, because I just don't think on the feet he's gonna be able to match that technicality. Even if he has the volume edge, I think that the power edge and the technicality edge of Choi is gonna, kind of be able to rue the day there. So I think that unless Erosa can implement some sort of grappling game, which I just don't really see happening, I think that he's going to lose the fight. And I actually think Choi, like I said, is going to be able to implement the better clinch game and have the better range striking game. I don't necessarily see him making a lot of mistakes. You see these fighters that Erosa has been beating recently, the Nate Landweers, the Jamal Emerses, the Sean Woodsons. Everything that they have in common is they all they didn't lose the fight themselves, but they made mistakes that Erosa capitalized on. Whereas, Landweer, I guess the Landweer fight, it was kind of just he caught him with that flying knee early on after Landweer hurt him and kind of was pressing forward. It was kind of a wild thing. But you see Woodson gassed out, got real tired, tried to push too hard of a pace and paid for it. Jamal Emmers, really bad game plan, got knocked out after, having a lot of success against Erosa. So Erosa has proven he can endure and come back. But, if his opponents don't give him those chances for the comeback, they stay technical, they stay sharp. Let's not forget Erosa's chin issues. Let's not forget, some of his bad losses. And, I just feel like Choi is going to be able to have success and get the victory in this fight. So I'm going to go with Seung Choi here. Man, this should be a fun card. This is another wild fucking fight, man. Marlon, Cheeto, Vera taking on Davey, Grant. Both these guys are finishers. Both these guys have been performing real well recently. Even though Cheeto's lost 2 of his last 3 fights, his loss to Song Yadong, very, very controversial, and then losing to Jose Aldo 2-1. I don't really see your stock dropping much in that. I mean, Aldo's one of the best of all time, so Vera had a good performance in that fight. And Davey Grant, man, I mean, 3 wins in a row. His last 2 wins, 1-punch walk-off knockouts. I mean, this guy's turning into the, Francis Ngannou of the 135-pound division. Just doesn't give a fuck. Winged hooks from the hip, man. Going to the body, to the head. That body-head combination has been working like money for him. The switch stance, hook combos. So Davey Grant is kind of turned a corner into this, like, where I think maybe in the past he tried to fight too technical. He tried to kind of maybe work as wrestling too much and thought, I'm not a striker. I can't go out here and brawl with these guys. I have to be very smart, not take a lot of risks and try to win on points. But I think since he's came back, he's a little bit older. He, maybe kind of just feels like he wants to let it all go. And that's what he's been doing, man. He's been getting in there and really, really coming forward, throwing heat, and just kind of throwing the technique to the wayside, saying, hey, man, I'm going to just go in there. I'm going to wing these shots. If you knock me out, you knock me out. But if I connect, I'm going to knock you out. And his last 2 fights, he's been able to be successful with that game plan. I mean, he sat down on big hooks and taking these guys out. But Chito Vera, I mean, one thing I think that Chito Vera is going to have success with, which Davey Grant does as well, but I just don't think he's going to have as much success against Vera, is the low kicks of Chito. I think that Chito's going to have a lot of success with the leg kicks. And if you watch the first fight these guys had back, I mean, it's almost irrelevant to this matchup. This is a rematch, but, Chito Vera was not even close to the same fighter that he is now. And you see Davey Grant, I feel like he's kind of similar to what he is now. I don't think he's really improved that much. I think it's more just that he's fighting in a different type of style. And in that fight, it was in the UK as well. So that's another thing that was, on the side of Davey Grant. And Mark Goddard was the referee, and he's like pestering Marlon the whole fight. So, I mean, man, there was a lot of things that were a little bit weird in that fight. I think Marlon kind of checked out mentally as well when he started, arguing with the ref and all that. So, I do think he's way better now. I think that, hopefully all that stuff in the cage is going to kind of pop up again. There's not going to be, that weird element with the referee and stuff, and it could be just them throwing down. And Chito Vera, I mean, he throws really hard low calf kicks. Like I said, those are going to be effective. I think that his kicking game overall is going to be effective. The front kicks, the round kicks, staying long a little bit. He is going to have a slight, reach advantage, even though it's only 1.5 inches. And I think that the straight punches as well are going to be effective. He needs to try to work maybe uppercuts, front knees up the middle, because Davey Grant, does leave his chin right out there. He ducks his head sometimes when he throws these wild shots. And I think, the straight shots, just staying calm, composed in the pocket, not kind of loading up with Davey Grant or, getting a little bit defensive because he's turning up on you. And Chito's that type of guy. I don't think Chito's going to kind of get psyched out by, Davey Grant coming really hard, throwing power. I think that he's going to be able to stay composed, stay in the pocket, pick his shots better than, these young guys or these kind of flaky guys like Martin Day, like Jonathan Martinez. I think Chito has a great chin. Obviously, he's never been finished, and he just has, more experience and composure. I think that he's going to be able to maybe start to see Davey Grant get real wild and, maybe find one of those counters straight down the middle. He's going to find, one of those front knees, an uppercut, and really hurt Davey Grant, I feel like. And Davey Grant has been getting dropped in a lot of his fights, and fighters just haven't been able to capitalize and finish him. But Chito Vera, if you get hurt against Chito Vera, that guy, swarms and really tries to take you out. His submission game is top-notch, so if he hurts Davey Grant and jumps on a submission, I think he'll probably, take it home with him. And man, I mean, there's just something about it, man, where even if he's losing these fights or even if he, he's winning some of these fights, like with these Sean O'Malley's, with the Song Yadongs, with the freaking Jose Aldos, that levels you up, man. I mean, you have a whole camp where you're getting ready for Jose Aldo. You win that fight, you're fighting for the title or for a number one contender spot. That's a big difference than fighting Jonathan Martinez. I feel like Chito Vera has accumulated a lot of really high-level experience throughout his career, while as Davey Grant has spent a lot of time on the sideline since they fought. He hasn't really fought that high level of competition, and I think Chito is just going to show, his composure level is above those guys that Davey's been fighting. And I think when Davey starts to get real wild, I think Vera's going to be able to find the openings and, make Davey Grant pay for that. So I'm actually going to go with Chito Vera to get the win of this one. I do think the line is off. I mean, they got Chito Vera as, minus 250 favorite. And, Davey Grant is on a good run right now. So I do feel like there's maybe some value on a guy like Davey Grant on the money line. But as far as a pick goes, for me, the pick is going to be Chito Vera. Why this is the co-main event is beyond me, but we got Aleksei Oleinik taking on Sergey Spivak. It should be a fun fight. I feel like, targeting the under on this fight is probably a good bet. Under 1.5, under 2.5. Aleksei Oleinik doesn't really have that type of cardio these days. And, man, I went with Aleksei in his last fight against Chris Daukaus. He made me look really dumb. I'm not going to pick him again here. I'm going to have to go with Sergey Spivak because, man, Aleksei has kind of shown his chin is just completely gone. He gets touched, he turtles up, and really doesn't have, any chin anymore. He's fought over 70 times, and I feel like, it's getting towards the end of the road. 44 years old almost. But, this fight, it's like I wouldn't go out there and bet on Sergey Spivak minus 225. I see a lot of people very confident in the guy. But, the people that have knocked out Aleksei Oleinik, they have knockout power and they're knockout artists. Overeem, Walt Harris, Chris Daukaus, Derek Lewis. They all have, probably one-shot knockout power. Sergey Spivak hasn't shown that. He hasn't shown one-punch knockout power. And, he hasn't really shown power in a lot of his fights at all. So, to me, it's a better match for Aleksei. Oleinik, if he can create a grappling situation with any of these guys, man, he's going to be able to maybe hit that Ezekiel, maybe hit another submission, and, he's a tricky, crafty guy. So, I feel like this is just going to be a total pass fight. I feel like I wouldn't bet on it, but maybe, like I said, target the under. Because, Spivak could, just touch him on the chin and Aleksei could be totally done and, curl up or, Aleksei could submit the guy. I really don't, I feel like the line should be a little bit closer. But, man, Aleksei burned me so bad in his last fight. Spivak, he's improving. He looked really good in his last match. Obviously he beat up Van Der on the ground. I don't think he's necessarily going to do that against Aleksei. But Spivak has shown that he has a really good jab. He keeps the range fairly well. So even if he can't knock him out, maybe he'll just be able to outstrike him and hurt him. And then maybe, accumulation type of TKO. Who knows? But I feel like cardio-wise as well, Sergey's going to be able to pick it up. Whereas Aleksei's definitely going to slow down. So Oleinik, he's live in this fight in my opinion. But definitely got to side with Sergey Spivak. And finally, we're at the main event here. We got Dan Ige taking on Korean Zombie. Man, this is going to be one of the fights of the year in my opinion. We got two guys that go in there, they bring it, they have similar styles. And it's interesting, how the sport works, right? It's so what have you done for me lately type of sport because you see Korean Zombie go in there against Brian Ortega and, I actually, had Brian Ortega in that fight. So that was, a good read for me. But you see so many people, they're on Korean Zombie that week. They're super confident. They're betting him at over, 2-1 odds or whatever odds he was at. He was a decent sized favorite. And now, he loses that fight. He kind of gets dominated by Brian Ortega, who, is a top 3 guy. He's fighting for the belt coming up. He's already fought for the belt. And, now people are just totally fading him against Danny. I don't see many people picking him at all. So it's like all those people that, really like Zombie before he fought Brian Ortega, a lot of them have came off of him. But I feel like this fight, when you look at this fight in comparison to his fight with Brian Ortega, this is a much more winnable matchup. I'm not saying who I'm going to pick yet. I'm going to do my breakdown. But it's like you're looking at Ortega. Look at the way he fought that fight. He was kicking. He had the reach advantage and the height advantage. He was staying at range. He was using a lot of movement. And, what has Korean Zombie, struggled with throughout his career is movers, guys that kick and move, that can keep him on the outside, that can counter-strike as he's coming in, catch him. And, that's what Brian Ortega did. Korean Zombie, he has that, Eddie Cha style, which Eddie Cha style is, you're kind of flat-footed. He doesn't have a lot of movement, but he has a really nasty jab. He throws wide hooks. He's very dangerous with his counter straight punches, really nasty uppercuts, and just he loves to slip and return shots. He slips the jab and comes back with big overhand rights, with big left hooks. He, if he can land that, counter strike in the first round, he really has a lot of power. I mean, almost a lot of his finishes are in the first round. I think 4 of his 6 UFC wins are first round knockouts. His last 3 wins in a row are first round knockouts. It's actually strange. Zombie hasn't won a fight that's went out of the first round since 2012. So, he's a guy that, if he doesn't really finish you early, a lot of these fights, fights that have gone to the third round, he's only 2-5. He doesn't throw a lot of volume. Like I said, he's kind of looking to stay in your face. He wants you to brawl with him, and if you brawl with him, I mean, he is sick, like I said, slipping and ripping ability. He throws multi-punch combinations, really good hand speed, really good counters, and his kicking game is pretty good. I mean, he throws some nice, power kicks. He'll throw some hard leg kicks, front kicks, round kicks, but doesn't throw a lot of kicks. He's mostly, boxing, and obviously has that really good grappling game. But why I say this is a better matchup than Brian Ortega is because Dan Ige is not a kicker. He's not going to be on the outside. Dan Ige is a guy that, welcomes that same type of brawl. He likes to be in the pocket. He, also throws big power hooks. I mean, he's coming off that super quick finish in his last fight. But Korean Zombie's definitely going to have a chance if Ige decides to trade with him in the pocket, or, sometimes the way Ige closes that gap where he opens up, to snipe him and knock him out or catch him and finish him. And in terms of the grappling, I mean, Ige usually has a big advantage in the grappling over a lot of his opponents. He could take him down, control him, or just kind of work him over. But with Korean Zombie, I don't necessarily... I actually feel like Zombie's a little bit better grappler than Dan Ige. So I feel like Ige is going to probably just try to keep it on the feet. And if he does mix it up, I think he's more going to maybe try to clinch grind a little bit. But this is an interesting fight because I do feel like both these guys are similar. They both have really good boxing. They have power. And, I feel like Zombie, he's a little bit, like I said, more flat-footed, trying to, slip and rip, work off that counter. Whereas Ige, he has, more movement on the outside. He tries to kind of, feint the level changes, move around, and jump in, jump out of range, and try to catch you, and sometimes he will sit in the pocket exchange, but Ige has shown he has big power in his hands, man. I mean, both these guys can crack, and, I just feel like Ige is the more durable guy at this point in his career. I mean, we all know the Zombie, obviously super durable. His recoverability is, absolutely elite, but he has been knocked out a couple times already. He's gotten dropped multiple times against Brian Ortega. And I feel like Ige is probably the more durable fighter. But, in my opinion, it might just come down to who connects clean because both these guys have really, really big, crazy power. The shots that I think that Ige is going to be most effective with are his lead left hooks. When he comes in, he really needs to try to, feint the level change to come over the top with that left hook. We saw Zombie get dropped with the left hook against Ortega. And also the leg kicks. I think that Ige needs to try to really work the leg kicks effectively, set them up so Zombie doesn't counter off them, but really try to work the leg kicks and push a pace. I mean, one thing that I haven't really liked about this week, heard in a couple interviews where Zombie was saying that he was really wishing for a 3-round fight. And then, I hear Dan Ige talking about how he wants to push the cardio. So that kind of, makes me think that Ige is going to try to push the pace and try to, throw a lot of volume. But doing that, like I said, it gives Zombie a lot more opportunities to counter, to land that big shot. But Ige's never been finished by strikes. He's super durable. And I feel like he's just going to be able to kind of maybe outwork Zombie, have more volume. And I think he could even hurt Zombie and take him out. I mean, I think Dan Ige has some of the most power in that division. He hasn't always had it throughout his career. I think he's kind of developed it more recently. But I definitely think that Ige has a big chance to knock him out if they exchange. Whoever connects first, I think, could get the knockout. And I think Ige, with his movement and, if he can mix it up a little bit better, kind of maybe early on try to clinch up Zombie, hold him against the cage, and minimize the exchanges, try to get him a little bit tired, a little bit, zap into the power, zap into that speed. And then, try to maybe work to the body a little bit, work the low kicks, work that lead left hook, the uppercuts. In the pocket, don't exchange too much, and if you do exchange, keep it tight, a couple punches, and then get out. Don't extend the combinations with a guy like Zombie, and I think you can get it done, and I think you can get the finish. I mean, I feel like both these guys could get the finish. I feel like this fight, just the way that their styles match up, I think that the fight probably is going to go under. I don't necessarily see this going to decision. I think that one guy is going to be able to get the finish over the other. And I'm just going to go with Dan Ige because, Zombies, I'm a big fan of the guy. I like the way that he fights. And I think that, he has, good potential to get a finish in this fight. But Ige, to me, is, at this point in the career, like I said, the more durable guy that's never been finished. The younger, maybe more hungry guy. As evident by, wanting to fight in the main event versus not wanting to fight in the main event. And I just feel like he's going to be able to get it done. So I'm going to go with Dan Ige. And I think that could be an epic fight. I think that both guys have a chance to win. And, it's a great main event. It's an awesome, awesome fight. And I'm not going to do a parlay of the week. It's just going to be a play of the week this week, which is going to be Kanako Murata. That's going to be my play of the week. It's a plus 110 right now. So it's an underdog play. I do feel like she's going to get the victory here. So I think that's a pretty good bet there. Man, having a most confident pick for this card is pretty tough. I mean, there's not a lot of spots that I'm super confident in. I mean, maybe I would say Dhiego Lima. And for the underdog of the week, I obviously have given you Murata already, but I picked a couple other underdogs as well that, you could see throughout the video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Once again, big shout out to, my sponsors, Fanatics Fantasy MMA app, EquitySportsAnalytics.com. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed the video. Make sure to click the like button, comment, motherfuckers. Let's go. And yeah, guys, really appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Everyone on the Patreon, be on the lookout for that PFL video coming up, and hopefully we can win some money. So later.